Welcome back, everyone. Middays with Gerard Rhino back in the studio on this
Friday, y'all.
And we are coming at you live from the Mid-South Forestry Equipment Show. Joining us now, Russell Bozeman, State Forester, Mississippi Forestry Commission. Good morning, Russell. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
We got a little rain falling here, but it looks like it's going to be out of here pretty soon. This place is pretty wet, but that might sort of delay things a little bit, but I got a feeling the show will go on.
Yes, sir. I do believe you're correct.
So this thing's been going on, I believe, since 1984. It's my understanding. That is a long time. Do you know? Has it always been here at this location?
I'm actually not sure. I know since I've been around and involved in the forest industry, it has been at this location. It's a fantastic location. It's very accessible. It's always a well-attended show. Yeah, and a lot of great stuff to see.
You know, I'm impressed not only with the big, heavy equipment out in the field, that's used out in the field to perform these tasks, these functions, but there's a lot of aftermarket products too that go along with this. So it's a large economic ecosystem associated with this that's very critical to the state of Mississippi.
Exactly. It takes a lot to get our industry running, keep it running. So you'll see everything from tires to oil to insurance.
Yeah, it's incredible. So tell us a little bit about your organization, the Mississippi Forestry Commission, and how you work, I guess, to some extent. Do you regulate the industry? Is that part of your function, or promote it? What do you do?
No, sir. We're not regulatory. We're service-based.
Okay.
So we are a true service-based agency. So in 1926, the agency was created. There were two main problems at the time. One was wildfire.
Okay.
We were having millions of acres back in the 20s, millions of acres of trees or lands being consumed by wildfire. And then the other part of that was reforestation. So we had gone through a very large economic growth period back then. The country needed wood, and these forests provided it.
Yeah.
However, at that time, we weren't as educated as we are now, so there wasn't a lot of replanting that was taking place. They were used to it recurring naturally, but you know, the state saw a need to help landowners get trees back on the ground and to protect wildfire. So that's what we do. Our first and foremost responsibility is when a wildfire breaks out, we respond to it. And we have a lot of wildfire in the state. You know, we actually, this past fiscal year, had a little over 19,000 acres burned from wildfire in Mississippi.
And so most of the timber that's harvested in the state, it exists on private lands. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We are a heavily privately owned forest in Mississippi. I think somewhere to the tune of about 85–90% of our forest land is privately owned. It's 19.8 million acres, and the majority of that's private ownership, which is a good thing. It really helps our industry, believe it or not, having a lot of private ownership out there because of the way it affects our economy, in particular here in Mississippi. It's one of the largest industries in the state.
So the private landowners that have this timber, would they consult with your organization as to when perhaps to harvest it, how to optimize those and maximize their profits on that harvesting process? Do you guys work with them on that?
Yes, sir. So as a service agency, we have a lot of programs that help landowners do a myriad of things to help their forest grow and be productive. And it's not just the trees, you know. I mean, it's also where the wildlife live. And so you can have a healthy, productive forest that is also very healthy and productive for wildlife, for water quality, for air quality. So we have programs to help landowners do prescribed fire, which most of these forests in this state enjoy. We have programs to help landowners spray non-native invasive species that are causing them trouble, like kudzu or kogan grass. We have programs to help them get a management plan. And we recommend every landowner, timber landowner, have a forest management plan, which is just a roadmap for the next 20-plus years on the activities that need to take place to help that landowner achieve their goals.
So to those who may have the misconception perhaps, that we're just cutting all these trees down and we're not replanting them and replenishing, tell us about that and how you guys are involved in that.
So as the state forest agency, we also keep track of the trees in the state. We do a statewide inventory, forest inventory. We keep track of how much is coming off of our forest and how much is going back on. And right now, we measure something called a growth to drain ratio, which is growth, how much is being planted, how much is growing on the landscape. Drain is how much is being removed to go be turned into toilet paper or 2x4s.
Yeah.
And right now, the growth to drain ratio averages in the state about 4 to 1. We're growing 4 times more trees than we're harvesting annually.
That is awesome.
In addition to that, since the 1960s, we actually have 3 million more acres of forest land in Mississippi than we did in the 1960s. So I know there's a narrative that, the forests are going away. Well, it's not that case in Mississippi.
That is awesome. So the finished goods that are produced from these woods, from the timber, that stuff that's processed and shipped all over the country, the world, perhaps? Yeah.
Yeah, we've got products made right here in Mississippi that are shipped all over the world, and then we have raw materials that are also processed here in Mississippi.
Wow.
There are ports that load logs out of this state and ship them overseas.
That's unbelievable. And so it is a net export, I would assume, product for us.
Yep.
And just talking to some of the folks, in particular Tedrick, with the Forestry Association, lots of jobs available in this industry as well.
It is. I think it accounts for around 70,000 jobs here in Mississippi alone.
And they're all looking for more. I mean, across the spectrum of the ecosystem, they're all looking for more folks. And it's so interesting because you could be operating one of those sophisticated machines, or you could be on the floor selling those sophisticated machines.
That's exactly.
Or some of the aftermarket products. So the jobs are plentiful, and pretty much anything that works within a person's strengths is available in this industry.
Absolutely. A lot of people are surprised, especially when they come to the show like this, how much technology is actually in the woods.
It's unbelievable.
From GPS, GIS systems. There's as much technology in these machines they're using to cut down trees as you'll find in just about any other piece of equipment on the planet.
It is incredible. Now, to what extent, Russell, do you guys interact with similar organizations in the other states?
Well, from my particular agency, being a state agency, in fact, I was just at the National Association of State Foresters meeting. There's a southern group, which is the 13 southern states and the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico territories, that I'm a part of as well. So we have the ability at a state agency level to communicate with forestry agencies all over the country.
Yep.
And then, of course, we are active with the state associations too. MFA in particular, you mentioned Tedrick Ratcliffe here a minute ago, the Mississippi Loggers Association. All of these partners that we want to make sure we service them as well to help this industry continue to be a strong industry in the state.
Mm-hmm. So we'll have a question here from Amanda from Pike County. Wanted to know if there's a program to help a small landowner get rid of bamboo and then plant trees.
So possibly. I don't have any right now. Most of our non-native invasive species are species that have been identified through plant and health services as non-native invasive species. They're a threat to the state. I'm not sure if bamboo's on it. However, we do have programs to help landowners with that sort of thing. So I recommend for anybody listening, if you have a question, you can go to our website and find your local area forester. So there's a drop-down box that says Find Your Forester for us. Click on that, pick your county, and boom, the information's right there. And, we can come out and look at people's property. I mean, we do that at no charge. Come out, take a look, see how the forest looks. And we don't just do it for large forests like the traditional sense of forest in Mississippi. We have a very strong urban forestry program, which helps the communities and homeowners with yard and city type trees. So we can come take a look at those too.
How does the mix work with respect to planting of new trees, hardwoods to softwoods, pines, for example? How do you figure out how to do that?
It all starts with the soil. You got to make sure you put the right tree on the right site. So that's where we start, and then the rest of it is landowner objectives. It's what they expect from their property.
Gotcha. So, of course, there's the question about why is lumber so high, and but my understanding is that's not really occurring at the level of the harvest and the shipment of that and the selling of that wood to the processors.
Lumber is back down on the board.
Yeah.
And so it's and they're two completely separate supply and demand models.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yep. Russell, really appreciate you joining us today. We'll come back with more talk here on Middays after these messages.